Kolento's Priest deck this week. It is a sight to behold. It's got Activate the Obelisk. It's got like no cheap minions in it except for Spirit of the Dead. It is a wacky thing, and it took us a number of hours to figure out game plans where we're like, oh, okay, that's good. That works.
So the reason I bring it up was not just a meme question. It's because I am, in fact, a pro. And it's our next series, Admirable, is going to be Kolento versus Orange, which is what we kind of debated over going into this. Kolento does have that priest deck in his arsenal to come up against. You know, I went to Orange looking for advice. I went to Kolento looking for advice. Miserable failure. Never ask Kolento questions on Twitter. It doesn't work out very well. We got word from Saiyan that it was super priest favored. Word from Ball Control that it was super warrior favored. Back and forth. That little snippet from Tice where he said, yeah, it's like warrior can win with Boom on 9. They might be a little bit unfavored. But you have to play super well. And all of the things he said, don't attack with the warrior, don't have minions on board so they can't heal your minions, and so they can't trade minions off with their Spirit of the Dead as well. That's all stuff that we found testing the matchup as well. So I found that super interesting to hear. The one kicker to all of this, and I hate to rain on everyone's parade because this priest deck is pretty exciting. I got word from Orange a little bit ago that he thinks based on his testing, he won't have to play that matchup.
Aww. Womp womp.
Yeah.
Saw the protections in the bans in place. Kolento protecting his Druid. And, you know, talking about players who bring Murloc Paladin, Kolento also brought it this week. Quest Shaman was protected on Orange's side. And this is, Paladin's a talking point. I don't think it's that bad of a deck.
I do. Hard stalemate. That's what we've got here.
There's really no debate to be had. Like, how could I possibly convince you? And how could you possibly convince me?
I know. I mean, that's just our casting dynamic 101, right? But it's...
A dynamic side, though.
Sure. Tice also called out that, you know, this deck, Quest Shaman, is one of the ones that he was happy to have in his lineup playing against aggro. He felt relatively secure in it. Orange is up against a fairly powerful-looking opener from Kolento, though. He has drawn the Tip the Scales, which, of course, doesn't really need saying at this point, is a bit of a problem. the ironic Cold Light Seer.
Yes, because it's made entirely of iron.
Yeah. I mean, obviously. Look at it.
Yeah, Cold Iron Seer. You just said
that, like, rusty kind of color to it. Yeah. It's clearly made of iron.
Yeah. You know, I've noticed Mutate is hitting like Novice Engineer.
It's a perfectly fine target for it.
Just never thought about it.
Yeah.
It's changed my opinion on Mutate.
Oh, really?
Well, I didn't really think about just mutating my Novice Engineers. That's smart.
Let's move quickly.
Evil Cable Rat.
Yep.
Lackeys from Sludge Slurper. That one not so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just a high roll card. You know, you can find situations for it where you're playing a deck full of battle cries. Battle cries by design, strong effect, understatted for their cost. So when you then roll them into the next cost up the tree, you're generally making a huge profit on stats. It's just a fairly effective card.
Step 1, include Mutate. Step 2, play Battlecry minions. Step 3, question mark, which is the outcome, and then Step 4, profit. Makes sense to me.
Double profit.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Because you see it as Quest Shaman.
Yes.
For my glory.
Pretty ugly looking spot here for Orange. He needs to trade and take care of this 4-2, and then he's probably left just dropping a 3-3 into this 3-3.
Ooh. I want to play Evil Totem.
Do you now?
I think that acting as like a bootleg Acolyte of Pain is fine, where like it wants to get attacked, and then you get a Lackey, so that way you have like a Lackey plus a 3 on the next turn. I think that has some merit to it. At the same time...
Yeah, I get the argument, but I just, like, it's a war leader. You need to kill it at some point. I don't think, like, Evil Totem doesn't often progress your game plan towards killing a Murloc war leader. And yeah, we see Orange get punished here by the Cold Light Seer, but I think just contesting 3-3 for 3-3 when it's a Murloc war leader just makes sense.
See, that's the funny thing to me, is like the Seer is kind of the reason I want to play a 3-3. Is like, if that's there, I need to make headway. And so you benefit from holding the Evil Totem when you draw a 2-cost card, and you would, by holding it anyway, and you would benefit from playing the Evil Totem when you drew exactly Kobold Lackey and then exactly Weaponized Wasp on the next turn. So the payoff of just playing a 3/3 is just higher because your draw average is better.
Right. I was about to say, you're describing a very niche situation where the Evil Totem is better.
I think that we are scrapping for them right now because Orange is losing super hard.
He does have the ability to swing back, though. Don't think Kolento has clear skies just yet.
You might have murky waters, though.
He might. But just, you know, this hand, like Mind Control Tech plus Goblin Lackey single-handedly is just a full board swing if Kolento is not careful with what he develops to the board. But I think if there's one word you can use to describe Kolento, careful is very, very high on the list.
Yeah. Careful, careless. Because he doesn't care, you know, much about like.
Those are polar opposites.
Yeah, but you have to take into account the subject matter, right?
Okay.
Hearthstone, very careful. Interviews, very careless.
Oh, I think he's very careful with what he says in interviews. An enormous amount of care is put into shutting down our questions as effectively as possible.
I suppose that contempt and disgust is a form of caring.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, on the negative scale of that. But that's true. He would care a lot if that was the target.
Must move quickly.
Instinct was the tasty fin, and I agree.
I wonder.
Interesting he chose to preserve the health on the Coalites here. Thinking exactly Sandstorm Elemental?
Yeah, the way he traded right now
For
is
my
worse against
glory.
Sandstorm Elemental currently,
Yeah,
right?
I'm wondering what it's better against.
Kobold Lackey. It was already a 3/2 to begin with, right? The Murloc War Leader, so he hasn't lost anything against Kobold Lackey by doing it this way.
Some Rush Lackey scenarios.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I almost think Sandstorm Elemental might just be a better argument, though.
Maybe you're happy that they're using it now. Maybe it's like kind of a little.
Yeah,
bit
no, that's a good point.
You're like, hey, you want a
For
Sandstorm
my
Elemental? I got Tip the Scales, and you're gonna double it soon.
Yeah,
Not be rushed.
no, that is very fair.
Look at that
Value.
hyper efficiency.
Yeah.
How much longer do you keep trading for? That's my next question.
It's a good one.
Evil Totem, I think, you know, much higher priority than these are. Although the Lackey does have some priority to
I
it.
wonder.
It does, yeah. Activates Weaponized Wasp, which is a super effective card. Just about every minion in your deck is just Wasp food. Like Nightmare Amalgam is the only thing. Or Nomi, I guess, if you want to be very pedantic about it.
Yeah. Well, the Nomi's the one preparing all the food.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. I find that extra funny because they all happen to be fish.
Must move quickly.
Yeah. And there's that one guy that just flings the food across, starts a food fight in the middle of the cafeteria. Just throws a pile of fish into your hand.
It just sounds like a Hearthstone card. Food flinger. Well, I guess fish flinger. Oh, God!
Okay, welcome to the conversation.
You make too deep of puns that are too good, all right? It takes me a minute.
That was in no way a quality pun. That was appalling.
I didn't say quality, I said too deep.
Yeah, I guess those two things aren't immediately related.
Mogu Flesh Shaper with the Witchy Lackey. Woo!
That's some juice. That is a big board swing.
Deloa, speak to me.
Former champ discounts it by 2, gets it down to 0, then gets played. 1 remaining for the Witchy Lackey.
Like a butterfly.
That is about the most powerful thing that Orange can do this turn.
Mortals are so squishy.
Aren't you mortal? You're a 3/4.
I mean, you'd be better asking that question of someone with some level of lore knowledge, because I don't know what a Mogu or a Flesh Shaper is, so I have absolutely no idea.
Well, you see, a Mogu's a 3 and a Flesh Shaper is a 4.
Ah,
When you combine them, it benefits with Rush as well. It's just simple. And you told me I was.
oh!
That's illegal.
It's caught on. Context sensitive, is that the best one in the situation?
Tyrion's probably better.
Is
But
Tyrion better? Yeah, I guess Tyrion is still better.
look, Zephyrus offers you Tyrion.
I was just thinking, like, any big thing there, because you leave the Murloc up, you're open to Toxfin, but I guess Tyrion coming in with Divine Shield kind of mitigates that anyway. But that could potentially be a game ender here.
Yeah, I mean, Kolento drawing both tips before any lenses.
Oh, perfectly fits into the curve as well now. He even ends up dropping the Life Drinker. See what these lackeys offer. Okay.
Yeah, not so interested in those turn. I got my eye on the Life Drinker
Yeah,
as
I'm
well.
still feeling Life Drink up.
I feel like Orange might be free to start cranking the damage here. Like, you have so much backup with Mind Control Tech and Ethereal Lackey and Goblin Lackey. Like, what board state would Kolento go in on that you can't defend with that hand? I think any trades here would be direct consideration for building an even bigger lead next turn.
Yeah, I mean, you can choose to respect the Murlocs with Toxfin. Like, as far as Orange knows, like, Kolento could also still just top deck a Prismatic Lens, play it, and then play Tip the Scales next turn. Like, that
perspective.
That is a possibility as far as Orange knows.
It's like, I can't pass up. I can't pass up the 5 to face.
Yeah, it's 5. When you're adding 6 to that with the Life Drinker, like, it's so hard to pass up.
So, I was trying to think of any blessing to drawing Mermy this turn. Where I'm like, your Tip the Scales gets better next turn? Yeah, it's rough. It doesn't even necessarily get better, because the Mermy's just still in play.
Reporting for duty.
I mean, I think that still makes it better, because any Murloc buffs that come out, that 1/1 is significantly better than a 1/1 at that point. Nothing. I think having a live Murloc when you play Tip the Scales is perfectly reasonable some of the time. Yeah, that card does damage.
Still need 5 more for this to close, though, so, you know, you saw him mouse over the Goblin Lackey there. He's like, okay, that's 2 of that 5. I need 3 more?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if you ever can tempo stuff here. Like, tempoing a Mind Control Tech in this spot seems outrageous to me because, like, Tip the Scales is supremely likely next turn.
Right.
Will not be rashed.
The idea is if you're setting up lethal against Tip the Scales coming down anyway, which takes it out of the equation.
That's sometimes true, but that's not always true, right? Like in the case of like Murloc War Leader. Oh, I guess you only need 2 damage because I forgot that it's a double buff on the Goblin
Yes.
Lackey.
Yeah. So only 3 attacks happen, you're left with 1 on board, and you have 8 from hand. So playing the Mind Control Tech instead of the Questing Explorer here does actually set up lethal against Tip the Scales. right? There's a second Bluegill Warrior too, so that changes the
Yeah,
equation.
the Questing Explorer does as well. 'Cause
Let
it's 8 from
me
hand plus 2 on the board. The Questing Explorer.
No, but the Questing Explorer would die because these Murlocs will get buffed in some
Ah,
way.
I see. Oh, so the... No, the mind control tech would not have done this.
So that doesn't change because it just kills the mind control tech
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah, and even if you don't get buffs, you get second Bluegill Warrior, which helps you take damage off the board anyway, so it's just not a lethal setup. Speaking of lethal setups, Orange is now staring at one himself.
Thinking back to all those trades, man. Trying to maximize the chance he steals away Tidecaller and
Deloa, speak to me.
the War Leader.
Felt like incredibly minor things. Yeah, you'd rather steal a Mermy than that 3-1 because you have Bog Slosher, and it'd be better to have a Mermy in your hand than a Toxfin most of the time. Extremely minor details.
Wow, Leroy for Kolento would end the game.
I will not be rushed.
Of course it's the right way.
So Orange gonna take out the War Leader to make sure that's not a factor.
357 on the board, Leroy off the top. Yeah, it's just 13 now. No longer representing lethal himself. After the trades happen.
So Grimscale Oracles are the last attack buff in the deck for Kolento.
Yep.
Still has a Bluegills in there. So how do you parse this out? Like, do you start trading first? And how do you trade? That depends on how many Murlocs you have left. So Kolento's just got to do some math this turn and figure it out.
$10, $13. Yeah, both war leaders are gone.
I believe that was just 5 Murlocs. Oh, there's a Nightmare Amalgam left.
Yeah. If there was a war leader left in the deck, then I think he had some lethal potential on that turn as well, with war leader, Grimscale, and the Bluegill coming out while still attacking with the other 3 Murlocs as well. But no such opportunities with what he had left. Hello.
Orange isn't thinking about playing the Sandstorm Elemental. He's thinking about A, Lava Burst out of the Nightmare Amalgam, and then B, what Murlocs does he draw for this just to make sure that I don't have to think about it later.
Yep. His turn is straightforward. He's just getting all the due diligence out the way now.
The Lava Burst is a question mark, though.
It is.
I want to hold it because if you draw a Life Drinker, you can end the game. I want to hold it because we have a 2-2 contesting a 3-2, and my opponent's drawing a Nightmare Amalgam.
Your opponent's deck is a True Silver Champion, a Nightmare Amalgam, a Prismatic Lens, a Chef Nomi,
And a Leroy.
I will not be rushed. Deloa, speak to
Isn't there a
me.
Zephyr in there?
second Prismatic Lens as well. and
There's
Zephyr,
a Zephyr in there
yeah.
as well. Oh
when
my
I say, when I
gosh.
say deck, like it's 7 cards, not 4, because I was including the 3 that Orange doesn't know in hand.
That's so ugly. It does draw a minion, though.
And if that minion is Zephyrus, it's active.
Yes, because it would be Leroy and X left. So Leroy's the draw. Wow, was Chef Nomi perhaps better there?
Reporting for duty.
Like, I know that sounds crazy, but like it's a 6/6.
You push 3 now, he's down to 15. You have 9 on board, which puts him at effective 6.
that a
And then
true
you can
silver
draw
draw?
Leroy the next turn.
No, yeah, it's true because you don't have Leroy in hand.
Yeah. But you would put yourself on a Leroy top deck with that play. Ah, you wouldn't, because the 3 would be taken off the board. So he'd be at 15, facing down 6, so he'd be at effective 9.
Ah.
So yeah, I don't think it sets up lethal outs.
Orange is in trouble. What happened this game? It was looking so good.
Well, Opardin looking like it might just just drag itself kicking and screaming over the line here.
You know, I think it's so important to notice how Kolento very meticulously fought for board as well. Like every last point of efficiency mattered.
Orange really deep in the tank this turn.
Well, he's trying to figure out what draw wins in the game. Like, they're just, like, is there one?
Well, Life Drinker certainly does.
Can you afford to not Lava Burst?
Agree with
The answer
this.
to that's yeah.
Leroy Savage Roll?
That
Sleep,
looks
though,
like
right?
it wins to me.
Yeah, Leroy Zephyrus Savage Roll. Used to be a bug where Savage Roll didn't detect your hero attack, but I believe that has now been corrected, and this will give a Savage Roll for lethal. Kill command also lethal there because the Amalgam's a beast.
Ah!
Good job, Zephyrus.
Orange can't believe it. I can't believe it. I felt like Orange was way ahead.
He was for large periods, and then he got into a position where he was just a point or two of damage off.
Yeah, so there's a lot of reason in the mid game. The turn he had the former champ attack to face. He ended up trading off a lot of 1/1s, and he has a lot of reasons to trade off 1/1s, but I would just love to hear his thoughts on it, because my instinct there was go for the throat. And the reason is because you are ahead on the attack initiative right now. Your opponent needs to handle everything, and it's very clear that their hand is stuck in some way. Like, the tip to scales have been there for a very long time. And again, that could very easily be Toxfins. It could be like a timely buff on your Murlocs.
Yeah.
But if it's not those things,
So-
that extra damage is going to win games.
He did leave one Murloc alive, so the Toxfin factor is kind of irrelevant because that one Murloc kills your 5/5 either way if there's a Toxfin there. I think the things he plays around are just AoE Murloc buffs, like the War Leader and the Grimscale Oracle, and also, like I said, as far as he's concerned, he's still under threat of Tip the Scales happening on every turn because he doesn't know that there's just two Tip the Scales in his opponent's hand that are unplayable. He thinks that there can still be a draw of Prismatic Lens into Tip the Scales at any point. So if that happens and there's a couple of Murlocs on the board and they can attack, he's either taking a ton of damage or he's losing his entire board to buff Murlocs. So I can definitely understand the respect, but in this sample size of one, like a couple of points of missed damage may very well have been the difference between a win or loss there.
Yeah, Orange keeps getting into spots where there's just like very wide ranges of things to play around. And all of his games have been interesting from that perspective, and they're up for debate because of just how many different outcomes there are and what's best against the kinds of outcomes that are there. It's just really crazy how many of those spots that he's been in, you know, between Season 1 and Season 2 now. So I think that spot's interesting and definitely one to take a look at and, you know, see what Absolute is best there because there's just so much to think about. Either way, we're going to break, and when we come back, Orange versus Kolento is jumping into game number 2. Kolento, one of the first players to actually win with Murloc Paladin pretty much ever in Grandmasters. Stay tuned.
My name is Sam Braithwaite, and I'm the Senior Global Franchise Lead for Hearthstone Esports. This event was especially cool because it takes place right after the brand new expansion, Rise of Shadows. Historically in Hearthstone Esports, we do our big events like this towards the end of an expansion cycle, but we really wanted to shake things up and really showcase that not only is the world champion the person who can pilot the best decks, but also the person who, when presented with a brand new game, can put together the best decks leading into the world championship. Cheers to you guys, the sold out crowd here for the HCT 2019 World Championship.
Welcome back to 2019 HCT World Championship.
We've had a lot of fun games, and we're looking forward to the grand finals. Showdown. Viper versus Hunter Ace. Only one can be the champion.
Match be dead.
Waggle pick of this coming out from Hunter.
It's now or never. Archvillain reform.
Okay. In a completely solved game, Hunter Ace finds a way to maximize his chances. It's been a wonderful journey throughout the past few years of the Hearthstone Championship Tour, where stars were made and dreams came true.
My name is John Westberg. In-game, I'm Orange. How I came up with my username, there's really no interesting story about it. I just always really liked the color orange. What Grandmaster means to me, it means a lot of things. I've been enjoying these past few years like no other. It's been the best years of my life. But starting off from square one each and every year has certainly been quite brutal. But finally getting like some recognitions that like, hey, you guys are the top players in the world of this game. It really means a lot to me. It makes it so these past years of work has definitely been worth it. What I'm looking forward to most about the Grandmaster experience is definitely that I get to compete every single week against what is considered to be the absolute best players in the world. The thing I played most throughout the years has definitely been mid-range decks. A deck that takes on an aggressive role against slower decks and takes on a defensive role against the faster decks. To prove myself that I really make it among the best is if I make it to the global finals. It's a pretty big goal. It's going to be very, very hard. I think this might be it. I think this might be my time to really shine.
It is week number 2 and Supreme Sunday here at the Hearthstone Grandmasters for the European region. We are missed match number 4 right now with Orange and Kolento. I'm Nathan, that's Admirable Zamora, joined by Simon Asado Welch. And we just saw Murloc Paladin kind of chip its way to a victory very slowly but surely.
Yeah, it wasn't the trademark Murloc Paladin win that everyone has certainly encountered once or twice on ladder, whether playing the deck or getting high rolled by it, but it was at least a sign that that deck might have some gas in Hearthstone Grandmasters. We've been kind of dunking on it, or I have. You've actually been defending it a little bit, but I've been kind of dunking on it so far, just based on the proceedings that we've seen. It just has not looked particularly effective, particularly with just the prevalence of Warrior hanging around, which can, even as we saw in the TIE series, it has game against the highest of high rolls from the deck as well. Like, it can beat that tip the scales outcome on turn 5 or whatever it might be. But Kolento does get over the line, but refocus, game 2, there is still this mystery priest deck in play from Kolento, which I've been reliably informed by Orange that, you know, if both players like pick and ban correctly, Kolento is not going to end up playing, or at least against the Warrior for Orange. So we will see, and yeah, right on form, there is no priest just yet. Kolento has a chance here to get out of that series without playing the priest, as he has the Druid now up against the Shaman. This is a deck that we saw Bunny Hopper play super well in this matchup. I think we'd both agree on earlier in the day. See if Orange can match that up against a slightly different list here from Kolento.
Yeah, I think not playing the priest would be illegal, and I'm going to demand game 3 and priest. And you know, when I'm demanding priest, something's up, because I never demand priest.
You know, he still doesn't have to play the priest if we get to game 3.
That's illegal.
Okay.
Of course it's the right way.
If he doesn't play it in game 3, I'm calling the police.
I'm very glad you've got on the "that's illegal" train.
It's really funny.
I
like,
know.
I'm like, no, that's not illegal. And you just insist that it is, and it's like, that's funny. I don't know why. I keep seeing these questing explorers on turn 2, and I'm very curious about it. Like, it's so natural for that to be the play, right? But when I have Weaponized Wasp and I have Coin, I always look at Sludge Slurper and what's the big payoff potential of it.
Wait, I'm lost. What did you just say? Run that back again?
Everyone's been playing Questing Explorer on turn 2.
Oh, did you?
But when you have
you might have
Sludge
said
Slurper-
Crystal Merchant on 2, which is what confused me. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think moving on. I understand now.
Okay, if I misspoke, I apologize. Questing Explorer.
Now I understand.
Yes. So I'm very interested when you exactly have Weaponized Wasp and Coin and Sludge Slurper alongside this. It's a pretty specific thing, but this comes up a lot, actually.
Okay.
Having the Lackey in play preemptively, because you're overloaded for one, it's okay you get to Coin Wasp. Like, I feel like against Crystal Merchants specifically, that can be important, but I'm actually just not convinced that that's that big of a deal.
Well, the thing is this way around, so this is one of the bad outcomes, but this way around you can still find Kobold Lackey or the Rush Lackey to be able to take care of the situation anyway, right?
Yeah.
So against Crystal Merchant, you're fine some of the time, and against not Crystal Merchant, you've just made like the more natural, quote, like vanilla good play, right? Play 2 drop on 2.
And kind of the example I wanted to get to with that was the idea of playing proactively around a card. If you go for the Sludge Slurper there and then coin out your Wasp, you give up a lot in this matchup. Like, it's been demonstrated how important Wasp is in a matchup like this to be able to, A, deliver burst damage, and B, fight through the right position from your opponent. You know, Hidden Oasis is one of the cards I specifically think about. Your opponent's under threat of Weaponized Wasp almost every single time in the end of the game due to the double battle cry. And so if they have to play Hidden Oasis prior to that, the Wasp is threatening that tempo battle. And so it's super important to be fighting against this in a proactive way from an outcome perspective, I think, much more than it is to be setting up to guaranteed kill the Crystal Merchant every time.
Okay.
It's a very weird thing.
Despite you talking about how effective Hidden Oasis can be, I do love that Loti pick there from Kolento when it was up against the Hidden Oasis, because certainly in my experience in the matchup, that is the card that terrorizes me when I'm playing the Shaman. It's just so hard to build a board when you have the threat of War Druid Loti spell damage represented against you the whole time.
Just keeps fighting back. It's a much different tale than the Bunny Hopper versus
5 more minutes, man.
Psycho series, though. Kolento's got Oasis Surger early.
Yeah, we might just see it crystallized exactly how much of an impact that has on the matchup.
Also has at least the Enlighten in the deck, which is also very different than what Psycho is running.
Scenarius as well, which I believe Psycho didn't have in his deck either.
Deloa,
That I don't remember, but I'm going to go look now.
I think that's true. You can check it for me.
Holy smokes, you were right.
Yep.
Well, that seems weird.
I'm not super interested in that Dozing Marksman, personally. Although, actually, maybe this is right, just because the Marksman is a little bit of AoE protection against Starfall.
Swipe? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
All right. I'm fine with it.
Well, as long as you're fine with it.
I mean, that's the most important thing, let's be honest.
Oh, my honesty right now. Bad timing. He's going to kill the Marksman!
It's a free kill. That was the ultimate value trade. Don't get better than that.
I wonder.
Yeah, this one's a little bit tougher. If you kill those 4-3, the Lackeys get a value trade in. If you kill the 2-2, you are lining up a Wasp for that thing.
You are lining up the juiciest of all Wasps.
Wasp is lined up anyway, but just in a very different manner.
That is true. You're also slightly vulnerable to Sandstorm Elemental here, but I don't think you would expect your opponent to Sandstorm Elemental with knowledge of the matchup in this position. When they have a 1-1 that can trade into it anyway. Like, I don't think you Sandstorm Elementals to protect 1-1s in this matchup is essentially what I'm saying. Like, I think Sandstorm Elemental is a better card than that in the matchup.
I will be curious to know how Orange is thinking of the matchup, because the Sandstorm Elemental also allows your 2-2 and your other 1-1 to trade off fairly well.
Okay, if you just hero power with it, sure.
Yeah.
Speak to me.
It's a pretty weak-looking development turn, though.
I'm more interested in using the Wasp because that's conditioned.
Yep, I agree.
Orange has had some tough-looking turns, though. Nothing super clean. It's like floating mana, not getting super efficient battle cries. It's the nature of pressure against this deck. You got to scrap. Fight for it. That's the one Orange did not want to see.
Most impressive.
And if you needed confirmation of the fact that he didn't want to see it, there it is.
Yeah, I understated it a bit. I think his reaction was much more than I expected it to be, but it's accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, right? Like, it was Quest into Crystal Merchant, into Wrath, into Oasis Surger, into Nourish. Like, that's basically the dream curve for Druid, so...
Yeah. And meanwhile, Orange has been, like, struggling to, like, make efficient plays.
Yeah.
He's like, I lost the early board to Druid. Like, come on, man.
I wonder. Time waits for no one.
All right, there's no way you're not playing that, right? Okay.
He hasn't played it yet.
I was like, this is a free mana 3/5. I mean,
Yeah, I think the debate was far more over what he was doing with the rest of the turn, to be perfectly honest. Ooh, revealed it again to kill off the lackey.
oh, I don't know about that.
Sure, I'm on board with all these unstealthed Loties in this matchup.
You know, so that is something else that I've noticed too, is that the players who have tended to keep their Lodi hidden for a long time have felt like, even if it's just the bluff
For
equity
my
of it,
glory.
your opponent's fearing big
Yes.
AoEs. It will change the way that they play. Now, the only thing it changes is they go, oh, I better kill that Lodi instantaneously. Pretty massive amount of respect for that lackey.
Yeah, and with one of the Wasps on the board as well. And one Bog Slosher already used as well in terms of ways to bounce that Wasp and activate it again on the following turn. Oh, Mind Control Tech is live.
Look at his hand. It's insane.
Does Orange just need the 5/8 here?
Engaging TC-130 into dislocator.
Well, it doesn't matter now because he hasn't got it.
I feel like I'm happier with the 5/5.
Really.
I'm looking at it from Orange's perspective. Like, I'm assuming there's no Starfall because they use the Lodi instantaneously. I'm assuming it's hard for him to push past this because, you know, it's a 5/5. They've already used an Oasis Surger. I'm looking at Titanic Lackey in my hand. Like, I feel pretty happy with this spot if I'm Orange.
Swipe, Starfall, Oasis Surger. There's a lot of things that interact with that 5/5 very nicely right now.
They all require you to trade in, though, so you're not taking damage.
Well, I mean, the Starfall doesn't. I mean, like, yeah, something has to trade into the 5/5, but you still just take a beating from the board that's already there.
Yeah.
I think you just want the big one.
Heal it up to full, maybe twice.
Oof.
I mean, that's just going to be every draw in Kolento's deck that I'm going to have that reaction to now. It's
Yeah,
late
like
game Druid.
Yeah, every card's good. You're not wrong.
Accelerated late game Druid at no less.
Yep. I think it's time if you're Kolento just to smell blood. Just pull the trigger here. The Shudderwock that's going to come back at you if that's the emergency from Orange is not that effective. One Mind Control Tech, one Sandstorm Elemental in terms of affecting the board state in a significant way.
I guess what's the question for me is what's the best go in here? Is it Cenarius and then Oasis Surger, or is it Cenarius Starfall? Like,
My default when I said that was Cenarius Starfall. But I did not examine it in depth. I just know I wanted to hurt Orange this turn.
sequencing here yields more from the Power of the Wild. Would have been 2 on the Cenarius. Instead, it's 3 on the Power of the Wild. Smart. And summoning minions before buffing your board is worse? Weird. Ooh. Ah, there's Oasis Surger and Starfall. That's illegal.
All right.
Okay,
Too much.
yeah.
Too much. Sparingly.
I mean, look at it.
Until dislocated.
Oh, now,
There's the big one.
now he takes that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was going to work either way, honestly. Like, oh, are you supposed to trade that 7-1 first?
Yes. I suspect so.
So looking at Evolve, looking at Titanic Lackey, looking at Earthshock. Ooh, Titanic Lackey on that scenario is pretty big, though.
It is. Yep.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it was good that we took the 8-11 here then,
For my
instead of last turn.
I still want it last
Look, I buffed for you.
time. I still want it last time.
Ah, it's bigger now. He's like still almost dead.
5, 10, 15. Then the 4 would have to go in, so only 11 can go face here. But yeah, in the context of there being 20 health worth of taunt on the board, that is very much nearly dead.
This is kind of tough, actually.
I think it is Starfall Surger.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of different ways to do the trades and parse the Starfall out.
This looks right to me.
I'm not sure which one leaves you in a stronger position.
This is the way I did it in my head when I was calculating the lethal out. It just does seem like the most efficient way to do it. It's the way that if you wanted to, you could push the most damage to the face, which kind of defaults to it being the most efficient way of doing it.
Why did we keep a 4-3 over
Yeah, I was going to say, did Kolento just trade a 4-5 instead of a 4-3? I'm confused.
For my glory.
He is somewhat gassing out, though, on Kolento's side. If Orange can just survive
That's
a
true.
final onslaught or two, and Kolento, you know, Kolento can pick up, we said, look, every card in his deck's insane. Like, he can pick up Hidden Oasis, which is not, like, the biggest impact he can have in a single draw.
Yeah. This activated King Ferris, though.
That is a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
So in that case, how many whiffs does he realistically have? Like another Starfall?
Innervate.
Innovate? No, he's drawn both of them, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Anubis South Defender is pretty bad.
Yeah. Bees. About it.
I hate when I don't get to push the button. Orange needs a big evolve here. That's a little evolve.
1 damage required.
There are some choose one effects that do that.
Yes, there are.
And that's one of them.
That's one of them.
Kolento's going to wrap it up.
I think Kolento started that turn by checking if you could bees face, by the way. I just want to shout that out, because I think that's what happened.
Kolento 2-0 over Orange in this one. Still the priest deck remains a mystery. An enigma, a riddle. How does it work?
I'm happy that based on our testing, my understanding, that lined up with Tice's recounting of his testing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident that we got it right in the end, but we'll wait and see. We'll see if Kolento's priest comes back to fight another day.
Yeah.
'Cause when we asked him about it yesterday, I think it was, his answer was, you think I've played it enough to know all the matchups yet? Like, come on.
Also to, like, on Orange too, where he said the priest probably wouldn't come into play in the series.
He was absolutely right.
Like, even if we go to game 3 there, does it come into play in the series? And probably not.
Right.
given the circumstance. I do still want to like give like a little shout to Orange in that one. He still kept being in situations where like range possibilities are enormous, and how the early game goes, and just everything he has feels like such a tough decision to feel like to parse it out in that one. So I think that he had the uphill battle in terms of decision making in that one.
Yeah, I think so. I described he faced down basically the perfect curve from Quest Druid. You could see he was kind of annoyed by it, just viewing him on the webcam, but probably rightly so. It's tough to beat that when it all just lines up as it did for Kolento.
Yeah, and so Kolento's here for a winner's interview. Kolento, can you hear us?
I can. Hello.
Hello, and congratulations on your win. You, I think, are the first player in Europe to win with Murloc Paladin.
So, yeah.
In Grandmasters for Europe anyway. I want your thoughts on this deck overall, because we've been seeing the other players struggle with it, and even in other regions, it just really hasn't been getting the job done. What's been your overall experience with Murloc Paladin, and what are some of its good and bad matchups?
How many Murloc Paladins are there?
A handful, like 4 maybe, something like that.
That's just not a big enough sample size. I think Murloc Paladin is quite fine. It has good matchups. It might be a little weird if I like ban Druid to keep the Murloc Pal around. I mean, it just lined up like this in this situation. I could have gone with the Priest, but like again, it didn't make sense. I know Priest was pretty good right now. Like, it's tough to explain why was it good, but like the way it made the pick and shield stages, like it just was brilliant, I think.
Well, I want to know. I want you to explain why it's good, because it still doesn't make any sense to me. Try.
Like, I forgot already. Like, when I think about this stuff, it's way too complicated, so I tend to forget about
Oh, I'm sorry.
My brain.
So I agree with you. Priest is a good deck. Now, the variation that you brought is my question mark on that one, but it has been blocking the way that bans and picks work out, and perhaps that's the purpose of the Priest deck.
You don't have to play the deck, right?
Oh, Kolento's getting way next level on this one.
That's true.
That would be sick.
Yeah. I mean, I just do really want to keep asking questions about that Priest deck, but I won't. Like, towards the end of that, the Paladin matchup, I guess we want to talk to you about. Like, when you had, like, that last few cards remaining in your deck, like, one of them was the Zephyrus, and you had, like, True Silver Champions as well. Like, were you just kind of calculating, like, 2- and 3-turn lethal setups in that period, or how were you trying to win the game?
I mean, I went face, right? I want to kill him. Like, he tries to tap the True Silver, I still don't have lethal. If I tap the Zephyr and if I trade, I wouldn't have had lethal, I don't think.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong, so like... it was very... Like, the point is, it was very, very unlikely for me to die, that's it.
Yeah.
Was there anything else in this match that stood out as interesting or tough to you throughout the series?
What I did wrong was, like, what Orange did wrong, he didn't trade into my trend first, and he played mind control tech right first,
Yes.
and then he could trade first.
Yep.
What I did wrong, I should probably traded scenarios, was 1 damage less, but it made it so it's like he wouldn't be able to even trade into my trend, right, because scenarios didn't have it on. It's better to take damage on it. It's only 1 damage less. I think that was better.
Oh, also, right at the end of that game, did you suicide a 4/5 instead of a 4/3? And was there a reason for that? On like the second to last turn of the Druid game, I think.
Okay, that's as well.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to nitpick over it. I think that you looked pretty fantastic in game number 1. Showed me some new light on the Murloc Paladin as well, just being able to battle for board with it through and through. So congratulations on your win, Kolento. It's always a pleasure watching you play, and looking forward to next week.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
It was so complicated when I thought about it that I've forgotten already.
I think I'm growing.
Peak Kolento, so good.
Am I growing on him a little bit? He didn't grimace at my voice.
I mean, that has to be an improvement, right?
That's a vast improvement.
You've moved up a notch in his estimation. You have now reached notch 1.
I was hoping I went from grimace to wince, and I went from grimace to neutral.
Yeah, pretty good.
That's super big.
Pretty good.
I'm still curious about that Priest. I want to see it in play. I'm afraid to play it on ladder. I feel like I'm going to lose 30 games with it in a row and then never have the same opinion of it ever again. This is the weirdest looking thing to me. Maybe it literally is just to block the way that protect and bans work. It seemed like he was reluctant to give away that information.
Yeah, it really did.
That would be super next level. We're moving